Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Monday night panel. And it is a Monday night panel. We are going to do a season preview tonight. So let's bring Vic on, and then we'll go through who our guests are.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I've just had to redo one of the things I was going to talk about. The amount of players we've signed.
How many signings have we done, Vic?
Well, it was 12. It's now gone up to 13 in the last 30 seconds or so. So you might well have been there on Saturday and seen Trialist A, I think it was. Jeff King is, and he's signed. We don't know for how long. I haven't seen all those details.
Number 17, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Number 17?
Yes, but he's now signed. But for how long, we don't know. I haven't seen those details yet. But Jeff King now is part of the new Swindon Town sort of lineup and squad. We'll have more about that later. So there we are.
I was quite impressed with him, actually. So
yeah, did all right. Yeah, okay, did all right. Yeah,
has my approval, so that's okay.
That's good.
What it's worth. Right. So first of all, tonight we've got Mark Sharp on. He is going to talk all things SAS travel to us, and then we have a panel to get on. So we have Rob, we have Fifey, who has come over from Falls Rush Inn for us for our show tonight. We've got Andy Garrett and we've got Anna. So first of all, let's bring Mark on.
Hi, Mark. Hello.
How are we all?
We're all right.
Mr. Sharp, you okay?
I'm fine, thank you.
Right, I'm going to leave you to it, and I will be back when you've finished.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Mark, thanks ever so much for joining us for 10 minutes or so, because obviously the previous Mark Waters, sadly left us in the summer, as we know. Laura and you have taken up the reins very kindly. It's been quite an act to follow. Just give us an indication of how difficult it was to pick things up.
Well, with Mark's sudden departure and very sudden departure, there were a lot of things that we needed to pick up very quickly. So just for instance, access to the email address, the Twitter account, the financial side of things, and then relationships with the partners such as Barnes Travel. So my wife helped Mark for a couple of years or so with the accounting side of SAS Travel, but she had no idea what was going on in the Mark side of things. So while we were very happy to pick it up, because the last thing we wanted to see is SAS Travel stop, for want of a better word, we had an awful lot of digging to do, a lot of background to find out. So luckily for us, we got support from Mark's family, and they gave us the memory sticks and telephone information and all sorts of things, so that over the summer in the close season, Laura and I did a lot of investigative stuff, and my wife is actually known at Swindon Town as Miss Marple in the ticket office, and for good reason. She's dug out a lot of information. There were things that we couldn't do. We couldn't continue with the current email address because we don't know the password, and Sky and Yahoo won't give it to us. And the same with the X account. We don't know how to access it to modify it in any way, shape, or form. So we've had to go with new email, new X account. The good news is that we've still got the same phone number, so people have been getting through to us on the original SAS telephone number, and we've managed. I think we've fully booked Chesterfield. We've got Crawley, a few left now. I think a few seats left now, and I think after tonight's phone calls, we'll be there with crew as well. So we are getting there. We are getting there.
Excellent, and obviously it's very sad that you have to do this, but we're all very glad that you have. Now, people might think, well, hang on a minute, you're nearly there against crew. That's not for 2 weeks yet, so why can't you just order a bus on the Friday and then you'll have an extra bus? Can you give us the reason why that is? Because it's quite a simple reason, isn't it?
It's twofold actually. Is to run another bus, to make it cost effective, we have to have a certain amount of people on it. So we would need, I think, to run another bus to Crewe, we would need another 20 odd people to be interested in that trip, just to make it break even on as far as the bus is concerned. But aside from that, we've got the relationship with Barnes, and there isn't that transport isn't available at such short notice. They have to book drivers and roster people and look for available vehicles and things like that. So it isn't as easy as that. It's not. Unfortunately, a coach is a little bit more difficult to book than a taxi.
Sure. So I mean, Barnes have other things going on during the summer, don't they?
They do.
Excursions here, there, and everywhere. So they've got to do that as well. Another factor that you have to worry about, of course, is the sudden changes, like Chesterfield, normally a Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's now Friday night at 8 o'clock, and that poses its own difficulties, I guess.
Yeah, we have to give Barnes as much notification as we can. Now we've got. With my wife being an employee of Swindon Town, she is usually first-hand with the news of any changes like that. So we can very quickly get on to Barnes and say, look, it's now not a 3 p.m. on a Saturday. It's now 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And then what can we do? And
it's 8 o'clock on a Friday night, just to get
8 o'clock. And what can we do? And up to now, Barnes have been very, very supportive. I can't thank them enough for the help that we've got from them.
So what you want, if people think they want to go to Crewe to say Exeter away, Barrow away, is to get in touch with you as soon as possible. Really,
yeah, because we're going to take Exeter is a very strange one. Bristol Street Motors, middle of the week, 2:30 departure from Swindon. People would need time off work for something that they wouldn't find very significant, but we're still going to run a bus to that. Yes, we're going to lose money on that one, and that's what we're going to have to do. But we need to know the numbers. A couple of weeks before is great. I mean, we're getting to the Crewe is on the 24th, isn't it? And we're on the 5th now. So we're really at the point now where we have to be tying Crewe off. As far as Barnes are concerned, Crawley, I don't think that we're going to have enough interest to run more than one coach anyway. So we could leave that running a few more days for bookings. So
that's next Tuesday, of course, in the League Cup. Extra, of course, some of us will be leaving at 6:15, but I won't rub that in.
Yes, thanks very much for that.
Yeah, and we should say, of course, that Crewe is a 12:30 kickoff. So again, you have to juggle the drivers have to come up with a plan as to get you into Crewe in time, don't they?
Yeah, we'll be leaving the county ground at around 7:30 for Crewe. So it's an early start for us.
What are the things that you'd like to tell people? Because we're on the dawn of a new season. A dawn of a new regime, as it were, with SAS. What are the messages you'd like to give to people?
Well, first of all, we hear some of the feedback we get, and we get it's negative about the way things are run, and I know Mark used to get it prior to us, but we are volunteers. All of the people that help us out and steward the coaches and that take the bookings. We don't take money for this. This is something we do for the love of the club. We have a 3-tiered membership, if you like, because we have members and non-members. But what we've got above members, if you like, are founders like yourself, Vic, which is 20 odd people who are guaranteed to come to every game, and that for us makes the service possible, because we've got something to book against. So there's always a definite booking available. So what we've done for this season is we have booked one coach for every game for Swindon Town's away season. We've already made that commitment to Barnes, and Barnes have said to us that they're happy to run with that. We have tried to make the booking process easier and more accessible. So now we sell coach tickets in the club shop. So when the club announced that they've got the away tickets available for Exeter or Barrow, you can also go into the club shop, buy your away ticket, and then at the same counter buy your coach tickets. So we've an immense debt of gratitude to the club shop at the moment, because they really are helping us out with the booking process. And I would say it takes the pressure off of myself and Laura when we open in the evenings, because most of the business is now done through the club shop. It's been wonderful support from the actual club.
Having said that, Laura is, as we speak, taking phone bookings.
She is, as we speak, taking phone. Yeah.
Well,
she's in the kitchen. I'm in the very comfortable lounge. She's in the kitchen on the table.
You are literally on the sofa, which is good to know.
Yes.
Let me give you a few of these messages because these are coming in.
Okay.
Tony says, "Good luck, Mark and Laura. Wish you all the very best." Phil says, "Thanks for taking on the running of SAS Travel. You're already doing a great job. Keep it up." And Sean says, "Hi, Mark. You're not in the club shop anymore. I think you did a great job in there."
Yeah. I was picked out on we were at the pre-season at the weekend, and someone said someone from the club said you need to come back, Mark. And it's never say never. It's not out of the question, but this is keeping me quite busy at the moment. So we've got plenty to do. So what we're going to do is, so if we're selling tickets in the club shop, we're going to still run the Monday and Wednesday night 6 till 8 p.m. on the original telephone number. And we're going to trial being in the Legends Lounge. The only problem with the Legends Lounge is that Sky keep moving the times and dates. So, for instance, the Newport game is going to be an early kickoff. So it's going to be difficult for me to get there for 12:30. But generally, if it's a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, I will be in the Legends Lounge between 1 and 2 to take bookings.
Bridges are there to be crossed, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't work out or nobody comes in, then we'll just send out a message to say we won't do that anymore. There's no need, because the other change that Laura and I have made is that we can't really deal with cash. One of the bugbears of the way Mark used to run it was we used to end up with a pocket full of cash, or an envelope, or a folder, and then one of us has got to take a trip into town to bank it. So it also, if we start taking cash, it makes refunds that much more difficult, because then your people are wanting cash back. So we would rather deal only with cards at all times, and then if a game is postponed or people's plans change and we can resell their seat, we can just put the money back on their card.
Simple as that, really.
Yeah.
Right. I'll ask you to give the number out in a minute, because we want Laura to be busy, clearly.
Yes.
While you're doing. Matthew says, "More than welcome to share any SE." Oh, there it is, down at the bottom. How about that? As if by magic.
Magic.
Yeah. More than welcome to share NES news on the Swindon Town Football Club Supporters Group Facebook group. So you got support there from Matthew. That's another thing. Just finally, then, before I let you go, and we get on with our season preview, because it starts on Friday, would you believe? Unbelievably enough. Thanks for all you do, Mark and team. No hour overtime tonight, says Kevin. I don't know what that means, but
Kevin was probably one of my ex-Honda colleagues.
Oh, now it makes perfect sense. That's fine.
Yes.
So if you've got one message for people, I mean, obviously you want to get Friday out of the way, and I know you and Laura are probably like cats on tin roofs at the minute. You want that, okay?
Yeah.
But one thing you would ask, I'm guessing, of people is, please just get there in time, make sure you're on the bus, and everything can run smoothly from there.
Yeah, we don't want to be leaving anyone behind. We've had a couple of close shaves last season, as you well know, Vic, with people turning up late, both to the county ground and after the game. The Newport game, we had a couple of chaps who just didn't come back to the coach. We were waiting for 20 minutes for them, and then they decided they were getting the train home. So it was there were 3 coaches waiting for those guys to come back. So what I would say is just be punctual, and if you want to book nice and early, because we do sell out, and we do get rid of with 25 people that are very regular on these trips. The first coach is generally a sellout quite quickly.
Yeah. Ben Bobo Harrison says, "You and your wife are amazing." So there you are.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Mark Godley is a technical question. I have no idea what this means. Hi, Mark.
It doesn't matter. It's not for Mark. It's
okay. All right. Well,
I was just going to say, Mark Godley, can you? I'll send you the email that you should be sending it to for your digital season ticket. And also the question on car numbers and car parking from Tony. Yes, it will run the same as last time. We will put a sheet out and get your number.
Yeah. Just as a note on that, we have the car park layout change with the motorcycle training school taking much of the left-hand side. If you are looking at the ground from the shop side, that's all fenced off. So you'll have to any away supporters on the day on Friday, you'll have to come in via the Magic Roundabout entrance, park up as far back as you can, right by the hedges at the back of the county road. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to try and load the coach between the club shop and the white bollards of the club shop. So the coach isn't going to come into the actual car park. We're going to try and load it in the lane, if you like, that's down the side of the ground. If that's not possible, because that does get very congested with people, school runs and people attending events in the foundation and whatever, we will load in the loop at the county ground, so we can just loop a coach in, load it, and then take the coaches forward from there.
Brilliant. We wish you well.
The car park is tough.
2:30 you leave on Friday afternoon.
We do.
For those of us who might be at Cirencester, about 10 to 3, I think.
Yes, yeah. So, and I think we've got a couple of pickups in West Swindon prior to that as well. So
lovely, Mark. All we can do is wish you all the very best, you and Laura, and thank you
very much. And just if we get the numbers out there, and you can see our email address there. Any questions, drop us a line or give us a ring, and we'll sort you out.
Brilliant. We wish you well with it. Thank you. We'll see you on Friday.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you. Just Sean, the question about refencing off. They do motorbike training up in the top end, so that's why it's fenced off at the moment. It won't be there for home games, of course.
No.
So let's bring Rob on. Let's bring our debutant, Fifey on.
Hey, Fifey.
Anna on, and we bring Andy on. Well, no, I don't want to bring Andy on. It's not working for Andy. Nothing personal, but
no, there he is. Marvellous.
There you go.
Lovely.
Right, I'll leave you to it. I'll speak to you later.
Chris. Just to reiterate that news we brought you at the top of the programme, Jeff King has signed for Swindon. He was a trialist on Saturday. Not sure the deal yet. Haven't really looked at it or in depth, but a good piece of news to give you this evening. Jeff King is now a Swindon Town player. Rob, hello to you. Fifey, hello to you. Anna, hello to you. And Andy, hello to you. A very warm welcome. Fifey, I'm going to come to you first because you've got pressing business a little later with Fools Rush In, so we want to make as much of you as possible. Obviously, Jeff
I'm not going anywhere, don't worry.
All right. Jeff King has signed. Now, I make that 13 players that Swindon have signed this summer. That includes Sean McGurk and also Namdi Offermore, because they were here, but they've been re-signed, if you like. So 13 players in before the start of the season. What's your take on that?
It's another normal Swindon Town turnaround in the summer, isn't it? I'm a bit confused as to how I feel about it, because I think the signings, most of them, they kind of make sense in terms of what we were lacking, what we needed, when you consider what left in the summer, what they've been replaced by. But equally, none of them are kind of that sort of real big name that you're like, that's where we're kind of building a team around. But I also kind of went with the opinion that could work better, because we're kind of building a squad capable of all the challenges. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I'm a lot more positive than I was at the start of pre-season.
Rob, the one thing you wanted was height. I think you certainly got that, haven't you? I mean, most of them, you know, when you talk to them, you sort of like that. I mean, they are big players, aren't they?
Yeah, it's we've been having this discussion, what feels like an age now, Vic, in terms of the fact that we're physically not big enough to compete at this level. Well, we should have finally put that matter to bed this summer, because there are some giants in that team now. I do worry that means that we are compromising our creativity a bit. I'm not sure yet, as Fifey just said. I think we're still short in certain areas, that we still got some business to do to give us a competitive squad towards the top end of the division. But I think we're now not in a position where we're going to ship 100 goals like we did last season. We're going to be far more physically competitive against teams. Hopefully that therefore means we're finally going to score from a set piece again, which feels like an age since we last did that. But we should be a lot more combative, a lot more there should be a lot more power and pace in that side this season. Physically demanding. They're certainly going to give teams. They're not going to give teams an easy ride. It's probably where we're going to get to. It's not going to be. We're not going to roll over and get our tummies tickled like we did on a few occasions, I don't think. So that's a real positive. And that, I think, given the challenges that we've faced when you think about how many players left the building again at the back end of last season, it's a reasonably good start to rebuilding. And as we've seen in pre-season, they seem to be more certainly tighter defensively. And it might not be as good a watch on occasions as we've seen in previous seasons, but hopefully that therefore puts us towards the top end of the table and not towards the bottom.
Andy, I mean, I have to say, do we care about entertainment if we do manage to challenge at the top of the division? What's your take on that?
Well, no, I'd rather we were challenging at the top of the table and it not being as entertaining, perhaps. Obviously, you want to go and be entertained, but, if we're winning, maybe only by a goal or two, I think you'd take that, wouldn't you? You'd rather be, at the top than entertaining and I don't know, drawing 4 each or losing 5-4.
Fair point. I'm just looking at the pre-season friendlies. Swindon Supermarine 1, Swindon 4. Not that this means anything. Swansea 3, Swindon 1, Hereford 0, Hungerford 0, Swindon 2, Melksham 1, Swindon 3, Southampton under 21 1, Swindon 2, Eastleigh 1, Swindon 0. For those of us who went to that. Moving on. And then, of course, on Saturday, Swindon 1, Wickham 0. Ollie Clark with that goal. Anna, welcome to you for the start of this season. You've got a thing to plug. So plug.
Yeah, so hopefully, if you haven't seen it, but I will give a plug to the launch of the...
Sorry, can you microphone a little bit closer?
Is that any better?
Go on, off you go.
I'll have to change my mic after this meeting. I'll give it a go if you can just about hear me. Yes, so Loathed Strangers fanzine launched this morning via the Loathed Strangers podcast. If you caught that, it will be on sale for the first time on Friday at Chesterfield. But I think we've already sold a few online. It's the kind of the love child of a few different excellent people who are involved in media work, notably Rich Pullen, obviously, of the Loathed Strangers. Some great contributors in there as well this time. It's as fanzine should be. It's written by the fans for the fans. So it's a combination of satire, silliness, insight, and moaning, and not necessarily in proportion and in that order. So watch out for it because it's going to be good stuff, and hopefully there'll be more issues throughout the season. So if you're interested in contributing, I would say probably get in touch with us via the Loathed Strangers, and yeah, we'll work with you on that. So watch out for it because it's going to be great.
Will do, Anna. If you can sort of somehow put your volume up, that would be great. A little bit quiet, but I'm being a technical BBC person here. Some comments coming in. Personally, I think they got it wrong, thinking 2 players short out and midfield and number 10. But I think a lot of 1-0 wins will be near about top 9. That's my personal opinion. That's from Tony. I mean, Fifey, the thing is, one thing that people have looked at is the creativity and the goal scoring up front. And a lot of people are saying 0-0s and 1-0 wins. What's your take on that?
Given last year, I'll take 0-0 and 1-0 wins, to be fair. I agree. I think that what is in the building is that there are people who, given the opportunities, can score. And there is a little bit of, you look at the likes of McGurk, if we get him fit and on form early, he could be one brilliant player for us this year. But it's that depth, and it's having it come from more than one place as well. You don't want to be reliant on one person to score all of your goals or one person to create. We've seen that very recently in seasons gone by, and when that one player that scores or one player that creates isn't there, it's very obvious. So I think there's still room for, I'm going to say 3 to 4 more players yet. But I definitely think, when I said earlier that the signings made sense, that one thing I complained about a lot last year was not only did we concede a lot of goals, but very rare did you go, do you know what, that's a properly well-worked goal, or that's a bit of magic. It was, we've just given a goal away again. And that's why I think the signings make sense, because you look at all the defensive-based reinforcements we've made, we shouldn't, in theory, continue making those same repetitive mistakes, I would like to think. So now it's just that bit of attention needed at the top end to make it click. And that doesn't necessarily mean, if you look at players in recent years of Kemp and Young, etc., that doesn't necessarily mean you need that player specifically. Obviously, at least one of those isn't available now anyway. But you need something that works in whatever formation is going to be deployed as our first choice. But you also need to be able to mix it up. So if plan A isn't working, we've got plans B and C ready to go. So you need to have different types of players with the different attributes to do it properly. But yeah, it's definitely that creative side and the goal scoring side that I'm hoping is addressed next.
Rob, I mean, what are we going to play? We're going to play front two with Drinan and Smith, or we're going to have Glatzel up there as well, or Glatzel slightly deeper. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, all the forwards in the building were playing on Saturday, weren't they? Which I suppose backs up what we've just been talking about. With there, not only do we need potentially 1/2 more forwards in the squad, we certainly need more attacking midfielders to bolster our options and give us a different game plan. I think there isn't a doubt that he wants to play 3 centre-backs. I think that seems fairly evident. I like the centre-backs we've signed. Every single one of them, to me, is better than what they replaced. Even though I had a great respect for Fraser Blake-Tracy as a football player, I think as a defender, he wasn't quite the same level as the defenders that we're going to have this season. He gave you more in different areas, admittedly, but he didn't give you that same defensive solidity. I think we do have an issue at wing back. I'm not sure yet we've addressed that. Perhaps Jeff King is the answer to that, but obviously time will tell as far as that's concerned. A little bit nervous about what's happened to Iwakwe. We don't seem to have seen him at all in pre-season yet, and I'm not sure we know why. He was one of those players last season who could have made a bit of a difference, but obviously was injured for a long part of it. But I do like the makeup of our midfield at the moment. And that's why I want to see some creativity in there to add to it. Because the fact that we've got an Offerball in there, the fact that we've signed Cottrell, Ollie Clark at this level should be plenty good enough to cause defences, both defences at that end of the pitch and also midfield solidity. We never really had a tough tackling, go in there and win a ball midfield player at all last season. He will do that. He'll go box to box. So I like the centre of the pitch all of a sudden, which was last season was our weak link. The centre of the pitch this time round should be a lot stronger for us. I do think we need some work on down the wings. As I said, wing backs, possibly a winger, and we do need somebody else to offer an alternative in the forward areas. Drinan and Smith as a central pairing worked against us for Leyton Orient. I remember that game very well at Brisbane Road, or whatever they call it these days, when they stuffed us 4-1 and they both scored twice. But I'm not sure as a pair that's what you want to go with for the whole of the season. Glatzel, for me, is still the quality in that side. So Glatzel must play as a central striker. I don't want to see him as a 10. I don't want to see him out on the wings. I want to see him in that central area because he will score goals if given an opportunity. And I see him as potentially the big man, little man combination with possibly Smith or Drinan or another if we bring another one in.
Something that I've always thought is a classic forwards. That's what you want, a big man, small man. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Malcolm says, awful feeling. We see a lot of hopeful punts up the field. Hello from Ireland. We'll be making usual trips across the Irish Sea this season. Come on, you Reds. Anna, if I read all these names out to you, these are all the players that we've signed. Tamizi Sibawali, Ryan Delaney, Will Wright, Namdi Offerbore, Joel Cottrell, Ollie Clark, Harry Smith, Sean McGurk, Roselle Angelo, Miguel Freckleton, Grant Hall, Dylan Mitchell, and now Jeff King, which makes 13. So what is your take on all that?
Yeah, can you hear me better this time?
Better, much better. Yeah, that's
better. Okay, it's that other crappy headset. I won't repeat everything I said last time, apart from watch out for the Loathe Strangers fanzine. Yeah, I'm even more, I suppose, trepidous about this season than I've been in previous seasons, mostly because I can't quite separate what goes on behind the scenes from what goes on the pitch. And I know that there's been a lot of work done and some things have changed, but I think the underlying fundamentals for me really haven't. So I think it will only really know whether the structural issues at the club have been addressed, that the back room has been addressed when we get to this time next season. Because, you know, we've been in this situation before where we've made signings who appear to be permanent signings, you know, offered players more than 1 year deals. And those players have still moved on. I think if you look at our, you know, length of service, it's very, very short. You don't get time to get to know those players. So I have to say I've seen one pre-season friendly. That's because I don't like friendlies, because they're friendly. You know, I like a bit of argy-bargy myself. So I haven't seen a lot of who we've signed on the pitch, but the names and faces are, I think, better than signings we've made in previous years, in that they haven't been players with zero experience or long injury records, which is a plus. You know, maybe one or two in there that have suffered injuries, but you know, the likes of Ollie Clark and Will Wright, you know, what are those clubs in Mansfield and Crawley doing, letting them go in the first place? I would say, because you know, to drop down to us, I think is great. But it's always about, can you get them to gel, and can you get them to gel quickly? Because if you get a slow start is okay. If you get a very poor start, then it's very difficult to pick up from that. And I know we have seen it in the past at Swindon as well as at other clubs, where you know, you've been languishing, say, in the bottom four, and by October you think nothing's going to happen, and then suddenly whoosh, away you go. But you know, that hasn't happened to us in recent seasons, has it? So I think gelling really quickly is key. Getting Mark Kennedy to quickly decide what is his starting 11, what is his best starting 11, and starting with those players, you know, most weeks, aside from, you know, the maybe the sorties into the cup games where you give other players a bit of game time. But I'd like to see him decide in his mind what is our strongest 11, what is our best formation. I like it, like you guys, Vic and Rob, you just said, I'd like to see big guy, little guy up front. That's what I've hankered after since Roland and Mays and Cox and Painter and all those. Yeah. And I liked Harry Smith when he was with us before. A lot of it is to do with his size, to be honest. You know, he's such a big bloke that even if Mark Kennedy doesn't see him as a starter, at least there is someone who you put on last 20 and he will put it about. And that idea I really like. I'm not sure about the midfield creativity. Khan, it looks like Khan has kind of been demoted because he's lost his number 8 shirt. Don't know what's going on there, whether he's on his way out. But yeah, we'll see, won't we? I think we've made some reasonably good signings. I'd like to see them. I'd like to think some of them will still be here this time next year, or more than usual. And yeah, I can't see us starting quickly, but I hope we don't start terribly.
Yeah, absolutely right. This is from Mike. Read the challenge for the league versus being entertaining question. Paolo managed both, but mortgaged the future and sold the family silver to do it. Macari managed it, but that was in a bygone era when you were allowed to bully and beat up players to do it. Sturrock took us out of this league without ever being in danger of having the adjective entertaining attached to his style of football. I'll take that again this season. Let's get out of this darn league and play pretty football later. Andy, I think we'd all agree with that, wouldn't we?
I think we would, yeah, most definitely. We need to get out of League Two without a shadow of doubt. Swindon is a League One side at least. You know, the town is of a size where you could easily support Championship football. You know, you look at sides, you know, Ipswich, for instance, in the Premier League this season. You know, we're a reasonably sized town to that. and we deserve to be higher up. You know, and we need to get out of this league straight away. As Anna was just saying, you know, we need to get a good start without a shadow of a doubt. We can't afford to be languishing sort of mid-table or near the bottom after a slow start. I think that's also going to breed a little bit of, you know, the fans are going to get a little bit frustrated, and with things that have gone on in the past behind the scenes, I think that isn't going to help matters either. So we most certainly need to get a good start, whether it's, I don't know, I would quite happily take 4 or 5 1-0 wins, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we'd all do that. Hi, Dale. From what I've seen, Smith and Glatzel didn't work. No disrespect to Bycroft. His kicking didn't go towards Smith, so you were expecting Glatzel to win headers, which won't happen. Kirk says, good evening. I think we have to move forward this season as a club and leave the negativity behind. Get behind the team. I think we're 4 players short at the moment. See you at Chesterfield. Fifey, there's a point from Sean. Blimey, where is it? First 4 games look tough, to be honest. Right, let's go through them. Obviously, Chesterfield on Friday night at 8 o'clock. Then we got Crawley in the League Cup. That's next Tuesday at 7:45. Poor Crawley. I mean, my goodness, selling the family silver. They sold the family silver and the dinner service as well. Which, you know, poor Scott Lindsay gets some promotion and see ya. All your good players are gone. Then Walsall is the first home match on the 17th of August. The 24th of August is that nightmare early start to go to Crewe.
Yeah.
And then on the 31st of August, Notts County at home at 3 o'clock. How do you see that start?
It does look tough on paper. I'm actually optimistic though, because I think opening day, literally anything can happen. I mean, it was last season, wasn't it, that I think Notts County and Wrexham both had 5, 6, 7 put past them. Crawley beat Bradford as well, and obviously a lot of Swindon fans, some of which I imagine are on here with me now, went all the way to Colchester for like the first ever opening day postponement. So literally anything could happen on opening day. I think Notts County, they're a bit like us. If you look online at what fans say, no one really knows what to make of them. A lot of people think that they should be up there, but aren't definite enough about it. Walsall, again, I think that we can, you know, first home game as well, we should be looking at 3 points. And I was chatting to a Crewe fan on our episode last week, and they're quietly optimistic, but not sort of openly vocal about how optimistic they are. I think it will be difficult, but I'm not going to say we'll win all 4 of the first games, but I do think there's a good chance that we come away with decent points. You know, out of the 12, if we've got 7, 9, I wouldn't be surprised.
Fair enough. Oh, hang on. That's gone a bit dark. I was going to read this. Hope Ollie Clark keeps the armband for Friday. He's such a workhorse. What a lovely work goal that was Saturday. We'll take the less attractive football if we get the same result as Saturday. 100%. That's from Claire. Hiya, Claire. Rob, I mean, let's talk of Jack Bycroft, because, to be honest, he made some really good saves in the first 5-10 minutes. They could have been 3 up, I guess. So was that a case of the defence not quite gelling, not quite knowing how each other play? What was your take on that?
Well, I think there's definitely a case for that. I think there will be a settling in period for this defence. One of the things to probably point out to people, if they've not picked up on it yet, is that we don't have one defender from last season. So apart from Harrison Minturn, who doesn't look like he's going to start, there is nobody left in that defence who was here last season, with the exception of the goalkeeper. So you can't expect everyone to know their game straight away, even if they've been in the door at the very start of pre-season. There's a bedding in period here, and we need to accept that. Hopefully it doesn't cost us points in the early weeks. I suspect it will be difficult for us in those early weeks, just until we get to a point where we're absolutely comfortable with what is our best 11, and that defence starts to play together as a unit. I noticed on Saturday, actually, you talk about Bycroft, he did make a couple of absolutely fantastic saves, but his kicking isn't the best. So we do have to be careful the way that we're going to play. But I was encouraged that we didn't just lump it. We weren't a team that now look at big players and think, let's lump it. We've got some skillful big players. I have to say, Will Wright's passing was excellent on Saturday.
Takes a great free kick as well, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're not going to be we might be a team that are bigger and taller and stronger, but not all of our principles have been compromised in the players that we've signed, which is encouraging. But I did notice that the three centre-backs played very, very tightly together. And that left spaces down inside right, outside right, outside left channels, inside our wing-backs. And the wing-backs played too high first half, and that encouraged the Wycombe forwards into those areas. And we could easily have conceded 2 or 3 in the first half. The nil scoreline was more down to a good performance from Bycroft and poor shooting from Wycombe, to be fair, because we could easily have conceded in that first period. But credit to them, because second half they did tighten up, they did strengthen a bit, and I think that's what we're going to see. We may have performances where the first half in games we might be not as strong as we are in the second half, because we'll need to work our principles into the way that we're playing. And I'm not sure yet we've got that, we're anywhere close to that finished article. And that's why I think the first month is actually going to be a little bit difficult for us. I think it'll be tough.
We should, of course, say Mark Kennedy, I think he's back at the club today. He's had a tough few weeks, and obviously we wish him and all of his family all the very best after the loss of his father. So, you know, it's not been the easiest of close seasons, has it, for a manager just taking over a football club? So I think it's worth making that point. Truthfully, I've no idea how we're going to do this season, but I'm hopeful we'll be much tougher to beat. We are far too easy to play against for much of last season. Even when we were winning games, there were times I couldn't believe we've actually won. I feel it's going to be another tough season, and improvements in the squad still important. That's from Mark. Hi, Craig. We can keep telling ourselves that we are first division side and deserve to be higher than we finished last year. But, as Anna notes, nothing much has changed off the pitch. I'm more positive than I was this time last year due to the new signings, but I think we'll be lucky to make the playoffs. I still think we'll stay in this division until we're relegated. Perhaps we can rebuild from the bottom up. I'm keeping the faith, though. I'll see you all at Chesterfield Friday night. There's a fine-looking real ale pub near the ground. That's from Craig. He's already seen 555 games in Scotland, it seems to me, since the end of last season and the start of their season a week later. They never stop, basically, in Scotland, do they? They just sort of carry on. And he's in very thirds against anybody else, I think.
Keith.
Yes, Keith, good old Keith, absolutely. Anna, those first few games then, I mean, obviously, Scott Lindsay's Crawley on Tuesday night in the League Cup. If ever you want a chance to get through the first round of the League Cup, here is a fine opportunity, because I don't think they probably know what their first 11 is going to be. Maybe they'll have to put the first 11 out because they've got anybody else. We don't know, do we?
Yeah, I'm not sure we have a very good record in first rounds, do we? I'm saying that when I know the answer. I mean, you look at last season, what an absolute disaster that was in the first rounds of every cup. So who knows what's going to happen on Tuesday? I would like to think that we'll put out a reasonably strong side. You know, it's about time we actually made it through to second, third rounds in at least one of the cups, isn't it? Really. So, and the last thing you want to do, having played, your first game away, is then go to a first round away cup game and lose that as well. So, I don't really know what to expect. I mean, Crawley, as you said, poor old Crawley have been robbed blind by, every other club. But I think, we'll see if Scott Lindsay can keep them up, and hopefully we'll go there and we can progress through to the second round. And that will give us something to build on. But I don't think that, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that I don't see some of these clubs that we're coming to play in the first 3-4 games, excluding Crawley, obviously, in the league, will be necessarily up there challenging. Notts County are perhaps the biggest unknown factor, and Chesterfield, maybe will be touching the playoffs with a bit of momentum coming up. But I think this is not like, for me, if we were starting against the likes of Doncaster, I'd be more worried, because I think they've got a lot of momentum from last season. But we need a fast start. We need a strong start. And like you said, now Kennedy is perhaps back in the building after his, obviously he's going through those family troubles. That will, kickstart some togetherness in the squad. The togetherness is just as important off the pitch for that squad now as it is on the pitch. So if they can gel off the pitch, I think it will provide them with some, momentum for match days.
Yeah, I was talking to Jamie, the head of football, Jamie Russell, before the game on Saturday, and he said they had a team building exercise, and Ryan Delaney was there as well. And he said Ryan Delaney was very much involved in the team building exercise, very much involved. So I said to Ryan Delaney, "What did you do?" Because he's basically just thrown you under the bus, and you've got to answer that. And he said, "I'm not going to say anything on what happened at the team building exercise." So I think they're working on that. And that was a good sign. I think there's a bit of fun in there as well, which I think is an important part of a football team. What about your start then, Andy? What do you think? I mean, you'd love us to get through to round 2 of the League Cup, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is anymore. I've forgotten. I know that the FA Cup's already underway, isn't it? In the extra preliminary fifth qualifying round, subsection B thing. I just. Whatever the FA Cup is, I don't know. What is it? But anyway, it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to get a cup run this season?
It would be great, even in the Bristol Street Motors, whatever it's called now, Cup. Just to be able to get out the group stage and into the into the latter rounds of that would be quite nice. We've never had a better chance than getting past Crawley. I wouldn't have thought. Coming up against them when they're in such disarray is probably the ideal time to play them and maybe get through to the second round, and who knows, a decent tie in the second round. Getting ahead of myself here, sorry.
You know what'll happen. We'll get through to the second round. We'll have, I don't know, we'll be at home to, let's think of something not quite exciting enough. Crew or something, you know what I mean? It'll just be.
I can, if it helps you at all, I can put all your minds at rest. We are definitely having an FA Cup run this year, because the first time in what will be my, at that point, 35 years on this planet, I've booked myself a birthday party on what just happens to be third round weekend. So
good man.
Man City away or something is definitely coming on that second weekend in January.
I admire your sacrifice. Thank you very much indeed for that. What are you going to do then if that's the case?
Well, given that half of my invitees will be like the FRI gang and that, like no one will be there anyway, so I either go with them and miss my own party or sit there with just the people from the East Midlands that have turned up for me.
It's my party. I'll cry if I want to.
Exactly, yeah. I'll make sure it's streamed live at the venue.
Fifey cries live. That would be lovely. League Cup. Joking apart, Fifey, that we all desperately want a decent. We all desperately want promotion. We really want a cup run. We want everything, don't we?
Of course we do. And it's only right. You as fans, not just Swindon fans up and down the country of every team, whether it's Premier League, whether it's EFL, whether it's non-league, you want your team to do well. Where I am, I'll occasionally go and watch my local non-league team play, and I even kind of get wrapped up in the emotion of it all there, and I want them to do well, and I keep an eye on how they're doing Saturdays. And of course, we know we can't have everything, but that doesn't stop us wanting everything. And I saw a couple of comments earlier in the chat, and it's something else that we've discussed recently about this. Swindon are a big club in League Two. I think Swindon fans generally are quite realistic on this subject. I think a lot of us have been through the motions, no matter how long we've supported the club. And we'll say that realistically, Swindon are just your average League Two club these days. Opposition fans, they might see Swindon still as that big name. The same reason Bradford get that tag. But they've been in League Two for what seems like forever. And that's why, despite the fact that you'll have fans arguing with fans, I think for the most part, we are quite realistic, and we know that it's not our God-given right to get promoted, and it's not our right to guarantee second and third rounds and quarterfinals of cup competitions. We know we're going to have to work for it. But again, I think most Swindon fans will agree, as long as they see a team working for it, we can accept it. I mean, they were saying in the chat about Peterborough last year, and I mean, our WhatsApp chat in our group is magnificent on any game, because we'll never agree. Even when we've done sponsor things, we've all sat in a line next to each other and still not agreed on what we've just seen. And I was at Peterborough, and some of the guys were saying, "Oh, we're looking okay." In first half, I was like, "I can't believe I'm watching. This is awful." And they're like, "You're there. How can you say that? It sounds so much better on the radio." I said, "It might sound better on the radio. It certainly doesn't look that way." And by full time, I'm like, "How have we not won this game? It's unbelievable."
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned Peterborough because Bobby Barnes on last week, and he, of course, was at Peterborough. And Robbie, I said to him, to me, Swindon and Peterborough are comparable teams. You know, they're comparable clubs, their size and all that kind of thing. And yet they've managed to be in the Championship recently, League One, etc. And the point that Fifey was making about, you know, if you look back a few years, Swindon were a nailed on certain Division 3 league or whatever we want to call it, League 1 team. Yeah. Now they are a nailed on League 2 team or 4th Division team. I mean, it's been a long time since you could say we're a well-established League 1 team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I subscribe to the view that you are what you are now. It doesn't make any difference to where you've been in the past. This is the reality of where you are, and people can hark back to the past with great memories and fondness if they want to, but the realism of where you are at this particular point in time. I've got 2 kids. Never remember us winning at Wembley. Never remember us being in anywhere really near the Premier League or the Championship. They probably can just about, if they think back to when they were 2s and 3s, they might have been in the Championship, but that's about it. It's been a long established problem at Swindon now that we think that we're bigger than we actually are. It's as simple as that. You are what you are. That doesn't take away the potential for us to be an extremely big club. We've still got the potential for that, but potential can only be realised if you've got players on the pitch and the backroom support is sufficient to be able to take that club forward. And we've known over the past few years, the backroom situation hasn't been good enough to move us forward, and the players on the pitch haven't been good enough to get us promoted. So that combination is always going to leave you languishing in the lower reaches of the Football League, which is where we are now. We feared 6 months ago our time in the EFL might have been coming to an end. So let's be realistic about things. You don't just turn things around like that. It's the oil tanker scenario, isn't it? You can't just change things just like that. It doesn't happen. It needs a long process to bring us back to the levels that we all aspire to be at. And I'm really encouraged by the fact that the youth system seems to be producing players now, which it hasn't done for years and years and years. The FA Youth Cup run last year was absolutely fabulous. It showcased the club in a light that we haven't seen for many, many years. And that is the smallest of small steps forward. If we can keep making those small steps and small gains, eventually we will get back to where we want to be. But don't expect this oil tanker to turn around in 2 seconds, because it's not going to happen like that.
By the way, one of your children's birthday tomorrow, I think, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. How old is he, Liam?
Bless him. He'll be 23 tomorrow.
Wow. You don't look old enough, Rob.
I don't. I'm glad you said that, Vic. He tells me I'm plenty old enough. He's the tallest person on planet Earth, basically. So whatever he says goes, quite frankly. Wish him all the best as well. So I shall.
Right. I'm going to read this team out to you, Anna, and ask you what this team was. Charles Cook, Menny Yazy, Lancashire, Purkis, Matt Taylor, Noyle, Banks, Gordon, Anderson, Richards, Paul Mullin. What team do you think that was?
Oh, crikey. Okay. Well, I remember, I'm trying to think back to, well, Mullin was, do you know, I have a terrible head for memories.
All right.
For,
okay.
dates and things like that. So,
Vic, it's a good job you put Banks and Gordon that way round rather than the other way.
Yeah. That was the Swindon team that last played Chesterfield, unbelievably enough. The substitutes were Robertson, Dunn, Norris, Iandolo, Woolery, and Moore. Now, Chris Robertson scored the goal for Swindon in a 2-1 defeat, and that was the last game that David Flitcroft had as manager, if you remember. Then he went off to Mansfield.
15-16 or something, was it then?
Yeah, he ran about there. 2018, 24th of Feb, 2018. Lost 2-1. So that goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, the team that played at Eastleigh last Saturday, Anna, none of them were at the club before January. That's an extraordinary thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we know the stats, don't we? And you look at that wheel of experience, and it's always at the bottom end of the scale as far as League Two is concerned. With you don't have many faces from a previous season that hang around, let alone the season before that. And again, that's for me, that's a part of building community and building the connection between the fans and the players. And we haven't had that for a long time for lots of different reasons. And I know maybe footballers' life cycle at clubs is a bit more transitory than perhaps it was before, particularly with having used the loan system and have done in previous seasons. But I still hanker after that somebody's going to stay around and help to build something, not just on the pitch but off it as well. So. And it doesn't help us, does it? You get a whole shed load of new faces and a new manager every season. How do you get that continuity on the pitch and continuity of spirit, continuity of full formation? You can't. So that's really what I'd like to see. Otherwise, you're just asking somebody to start from scratch every single time, and that's damn hard to get people to gel like that. So, we've let's give them the benefit of the doubt for the moment. As I said, I'd like if I sit here in a year's time and we've still retained some of those faces and are looking upwards, then all to the good. But like everyone else, I do subscribe, as Rob said, to that. Getting out of League One, getting out of League Two is important, but only if it becomes sustainable after that. So there's no point for me in doing what we did with Richie Wellens winning the COVID interrupted season and then coming straight back down. You get a little bit of glory for a few months and feel you're on a high, and then you hit the skids pretty much straight away. And I don't want to see that. I want to see us build something. And to my mind, if that means this season finishing lower than some people might like, but hopefully not too low, and then being ready to springboard into next season, that's okay by me, as long as we're seeing something building for the future.
Sorry, go on.
That's right. You'll want to see us get promotion, don't we, ultimately? But
yeah. In goal for Chesterfield that day, by the way, was somebody called Aaron Ramsdale. Whatever happened to him? In the Chesterfield team, Sid Nelson, Brad Barry, Louis Reed, and among the substitutes, Jack McCourt. So quite a few Swindon connections in that one. All right, Andy. Fifey's got to go in a minute because apparently he's got another program at 9 o'clock to do. So
no, I mean, honestly, I'm all prepped. I'm in no rush. Don't you worry about me.
Okay, all right. Let's go around. I've got a couple of other questions. Do you think the playing budget has been increased this season? We've sold players for undisclosed amounts. Don't know what wages people are on, so it's hard to tell. The undisclosed thing, most clubs do that nowadays. It's not a thing. It's not a unique thing to Swindon. And I always remember Colin Gordon, when we had him on here, had been an agent for a long time, saying that shouldn't be the case. They should be disclosed. But it is the way it is at the moment. So you're right. We don't know what the fees are. We don't know how much they cost, all that kind of thing. So thank you for making that point. Will the Legends Lounge be ready for our first home game next weekend, says Nick. The honest answer is I don't know. They hope it will be. That's all I can say. And here's one for you, Andy. Jason says the amended fixture dates and kickoff times are already a nuisance. Discuss.
I would go along with that. Yeah, there's no thought really, is there, to the average supporter? It's all for TV. You could argue, well, it gives more people an opportunity to be able to see Swindon on television and other teams of the same ilk, but we're the ones that are paying for it. We're the ones that are having to sort of, go and watch a game on a Friday night, which it would have been lovely to start our season on a Saturday, as we always do. And likewise with the early kickoffs, how many 12:30 kickoffs have we already got? So not ideal.
No. The only thing is it allows me to watch Exeter against Rotherham at 5:30 on Saturday night.
If I may, just on that one. But I fully understand, appreciate, and agree with what as Andy described, the sort of average Swindon fan will think to this. What I will say is, for somebody like me, it's ideal because I through circumstances largely outside of my control, I don't get to nearly enough home games that I'd like to. And despite being in the middle of the country, a lot of the away games, because of time with my son and that, I just can't get to. Unfortunately, he hasn't taken after me and like football at all. Never mind like Swindon, he just doesn't like football at all.
Sensible chap.
Yeah, he certainly won't get the disappointment. So while I fully accept and appreciate what the regular Swindon fan will think to this. For me, as a Sky Sports paying Swindon fan lost in the East Midlands, I will get to see a lot more of Swindon than I would have done normally.
That's a very fair point. I take that on board. And actually, some people who can't. I mean, Andy, I know work will get in the way of you going to as many away games as
it
normal.
will do more. Yeah, more so
Yeah.
midweek. You know, things. Luckily, I've managed to wangle my way to Chesterfield on Friday night. But normally, if it's a midweek game, I'm going to struggle to make it now.
What do you think then, Rob, about this? I mean, you know my views on this. Football's nothing without fans. Anyway, moving on from that. What's your take on it?
I see. We sold our souls to the devil years and years and years ago, didn't we? When it comes to TV money, I'm afraid, and the game itself is now run by the TV. I don't care who says what about anything. It's Sky or nothing. It's BT or nothing. It's whatever else Discovery Channel wants to put on or something like that. Anybody who wants football these days, if you pay through the nose, you're going to get it, and you're going to get wall-to-wall coverage of it, whether it be at Premier League level or whether it be down at our level. Even National League level have now signed a new deal as well, which means they're going to get more wall-to-wall media coverage as well. It's not great for us who travel everywhere. Of course it's not, but we just have to live with it. There's no two ways around it. That's the world we live in now, and we have to get used to it. I'm really disappointed for trips like Newport, where people can't get back by train. Which is one of those games that people really look forward to. Go and have a couple of pints and go and then get on the train back. You can't do it now because that's moved to a Friday night. Those sort of days out, and there are few and far between, let's be honest, in this division, which is basically Division 3 North, or pretty much Division 3 Cumbria and Yorkshire, pretty much, rather than anywhere else. But you've got to get used to it. There's no two ways around it. We can't change the world now. And sadly, the few of us who love to watch football on the telly, and there are many, many of us, wall-to-wall coverage of it sometimes saturates your enjoyment a little bit. And it's done that for me over the years. I totally get where Fife is coming from. If you can't get to see all your team's games all of the time, then obviously it's a real advantage for you. But 7 days a week football, that's too much for me on the telly. I can't watch it all now, I have to say. And I've lost interest a bit on television football, but I'll never lose sight of
hang on a minute. Weren't you saying to me earlier that there's a match on at 8 o'clock in the Olympics that you might watch?
That's Olympics, Vic.
Oh, it's different.
Yeah, you forget I was in Paris for 7
Yeah,
days.
I know you were, lucky boy. But
if I was still there now, I would be a very happy man.
Paraguay and Mali.
Yes, and I absolutely will say that Paraguay-Mali as a football match for 10 minutes was one of the best football matches I've ever seen. For 80 minutes, it was one of the worst football games that's ever lived.
Marvellous. Anna, what's your view on this? I mean, you travel a lot by car, don't you? So is that going to affect you?
Yeah, well, mostly because I won't be able to get my son out of bed to join me in some of those early games. So that'll be a challenge. But you know, for me, football is a live sport, and I get that for some people, having football, you can stream football or watch it on the television is a good thing for those who, for various reasons, can't get to games. But there's so much in live football, which, you know, being present at the ground that it gives you, and to be honest, you know, that this is why I was at Fairford versus Cirencester on Saturday, apart from the fact that I didn't want to go to a friendly at the county ground, but. You know, I like to experience different grounds and different games, and you don't get that from the television. I think the fact that the fans are the forgotten people, and the amount of travel at ridiculous times that fans have to do if they want to go to games, and some of ours are not perhaps that bad, but you know, you've seen this in the Championship for years, to be honest. But Rob's right, it probably is. It is what it is now. I don't think there's a going back. But for me, Saturday 3 p.m. is, you know, evening football 7:45 is what it is, and I like to be at a game, and I probably won't watch us on television if I'm not at the game. I won't watch, probably, because that's not what I want to experience. I listen to Andrew Hawes on the radio in preference.
Fair enough, well said. Right, are we still on a transfer embargo where we can't pay a fee until January 2025? I think that's gone now, isn't it? When
We're
it's
under a
lifted.
suspended one, aren't we? So we
Oh,
can
we're on the
we
suspended
sign
one.
players now, but
Yeah.
if we make a misdemeanor again, we're back under it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, that answers that from Greg. Right, one question then. Let's have a look, and then we'll finish. I'll go around the panel. Alex says, "Do the panel think we will get promoted this season? Yes or no?" Andy.
No.
Fifey.
Yes.
Oh, Rob.
Champions.
Oh, marvelous. Anna.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna say it pains me to say this. No, I'm going to say top 10 finish. Is that
Happy
fair
I
nice.
didn't
enough?
say who would be champions, Vic. I just said champions.
I'd love us to get
I'll go with
promoted. Of course
Uh-huh.
we would. You know, I want us to go up and win the league. I want us to get to the cup final. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see.
I don't care if we finish 7th and win it at Wembley, to be honest,
No.
as long as it happens.
I tell you what, if we play like Crawley did in the playoffs last season to get,
I would
win
take
the
it.
play- I'll take that any day of the week. Thank you all very much indeed, Fifey. Thank you very much. We'll let you go now. You've
No,
got-
honestly, thank you. It's I was buzzing when I got the invite, and hopefully I'll get to come on again sometime.
Well, I don't
Of
know, Chris. What
course.
do you reckon? Do you reckon?
We'll have a chat. We'll have a chat.
We'll have a
about
chat.
it.
We'll have a chat off
We'll
there.
negotiate something. Yeah, no worries.
Okay. All right. Well, don't forget, Fool's Rush in Fool's Rush is on in 54 minutes time. So there you are.
There you go.
Thanks, guys.
So thank you very much. Sorry, Fifey, carry on.
I was just saying thank you.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Yes. So thanks everybody on the panel. Been great. Thank you also to all our Twitter viewers. I know you've had the same problem, haven't you, Fifey, with the Twitter and live streaming and things. So
Elon wanting us to pay him more money just to be able to carry on doing what we're doing.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one. So we've got them back now. So
Yes, we have to, thankfully.
Did it work,
yes,
Chris?
we'll be
Does it
back.
work?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did.
Marvellous. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thanks,
no, it
Mr.
did.
Musk.
Well, according
Yeah, cheers.
to me, it worked. I've got a tick by my Twitter X, instead of a exclamation mark. So I think it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So thanks, Rob. Thanks, Fifey. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Vic. We will see you next Monday. Keep your eye on socials for what's coming up. Okay, and have a good week. Oh, one other thing. At Chesterfield, I will have some of the fixture wall charts, but they will be for
Behind
people
me
who,
on the wall.
yes, yeah, you can just see it, for people who can't get to the county ground. So I will be taking a few. I can't take a lot, but of course, if there is any left, we can distribute them on the bus on the way back. But yes, so if there's anybody that wants one that can't get down to county ground, please come and find me. Other than that, have a good week, and we will see you later.
So yeah.